Peace. This is Start with the Star Boom. So it's a lot of things that I want to address, but I'm not being called to address them. First of all, I'd like to thank Archangel Michael for covering me, for protecting me, for shielding me in my auric field. I'm canceling and declaring that any negative psychic or third eye and crown chakra attacks me and sent my way, that they be returned to sender. Anyone sending any negative energy towards my way, of anyone of the collective, that energy be transmuted into source light and sent back to us at the highest right of prosperity, financial wealth, monetary gains, and abundance. A lot of the times people are looking to you because you create some spark of inspiration that they've literally internally been instigated within themselves. However, they didn't create inactions and you initiate a certain rate within them. However, what I recognize is that there's also this rate of the desire to challenge, because people believe that there has to be some form of competition. But when you're in your own lane, you study there. And it's not really a necessary to gain receipt of somebody else's purchase or profit if it's not something that's petitioning for you purposely. A lot of the times we have the opportunity to maintain certain rates within ourselves, and we believe that this rate that we're maintaining is exactly where we're meant to be because we aren't willing to desire more for ourselves. That's okay if that's where you at. Don't feel instigated by your triggers instead of allowing yourself to access the traumas that they are training you to root in. A lot of the times you don't recognize how your triggers train you to root in a space, and you constantly go externally wanting to have some egoic progress or motion or movement in distortion that really doesn't allow you the ability to remove the root that you are training in because there's a trauma there. A lot of the times we get so overwhelmed. I remember being in a class one time and there was this gentleman and he was so sure of himself. He was so powerful. And I remember he made a clear statement. He said that this isn't something that should affect you. And he was so calm, he was so peaceful, and he gave me such a rate of information. At the time that I received the information, however, I had so many questions inside of me that went off, so many bells that rung in my head, and I needed understanding of why I shouldn't be affected. This thing happened to me. How am I supposed to be at that rate? I didn't take the moment for me to basically question him about the circumstance. I didn't decide to evil eye him because of the questions that he had triggered within me based off of the trauma that I was sitting with. I went into meditation. I aligned myself with certain race of truth. What did he say? What was it that I actually heard? How did I perceive what I heard? Where did it live at in me? When I found where did it live at, what part of it was I feeding? How long have I fed this thing? Is this something that I could starve? Do I desire to be at a rate to where I'm starving it, or would I like to remove it? How do I cremate? Cremate. Listen, God, because I said cremate. All right. That's descending, that's burning something to ashes. Listen, God. Okay. There's a rate of us that we are constantly, oh God, we are constantly in this circumstance of wanting to convince ourselves to challenge and battle with externally. When a lot of the times you be given thrown an alley hoop. Somebody throwing you, hey, can you score with this? And instead of us being at a rate to where we're constantly wanting to fight back, we're constantly wanting to degrade and to cast out what somebody else has, we're constantly wanting to denote what somebody else presents because we believe your belief is yours for you and your people, your culture, from where you come from your home. It's not something that has to be a community rate. All right. So when you out here, you consuming things, whether you breathe in the air, whether you processing the earth. Lately, my baby been learning about magnetism. And as she's been learning about magnetism, I've been sitting with Gaia. And the more I sit with Gaia, the more I recognize how the sun keeps on sparking rates of communication to her and how she's responding to it. She's not deciding to try to push back and give more energy out to the sun. She is lowering her resonance and she is being at a state of ease and calm. I've sat in classes with queens, not queens, but with ascended masters like Sister Myra, who's made me aware of the four that actually live within all of us, that we have to learn how to be seated within. The Divine Mother, Mother of Water, all right, Kali Ma, Big Mama, right? And then there's Father Spirit, listen, God, and then there's Daughter Earth, and then there's the Son of Power. And I recognize a lot of the times we don't allow ourselves to align to certain rates of truth because we aren't willing to have that divine union within that allows us to sit at certain race of authority. So when you have somebody who's sitting within their emotional intelligence and they come into a situation and say, hey, in your body you get to be and you don't have to be tormented. You get to actually emote things through you with the rate of egress. Sometimes you've been challenged with things and you get to process them differently. You get to be calm in the rate of chaos, and you don't have to continue to submit to certain parts of you, constantly wanting to gather, surrendering at rates of what you should be acquiring because you convince yourself of rates where you're not worthy. And then you have to degrade and demote or denote other things because they can't be this because your belief says this. What I've recognized in nature, right? I recognize in nature even how, right? Daughter Earth done been sitting in her integrity this whole time, just waiting. But she wasn't waiting. She was in stillness that allowed her to have egress because she naturally flowed with her currents, right? And then now that the shift done came in, and we at this space where there's this true golden age that's occurring within her, and the sun now is recognizing her power, so it's speaking to the rate of her that it needs to transmute that internal core has always been hotter than the sun, but now he pushing out so much more. And how the water is starting to speak to the air at a rate to where it's starting to harmonize. And listen, there's a rate of balance that gets to come when you actually pay attention to natural processes and you honor spaces of all that is. You don't have to look at the divine masculine as it needing to be this, or the divine feminine needing to be this, the negative charge needing to be this, the positive charge needing to be this. You sit back and, like I said this morning, let it be what it's meant to be. Let it be what it's meant to be. If it is, it shall be. If it isn't, right? That which it is will be. It gets to be a rate to where we get to start to stop trying to push back so much because we believe that we're in a fight, right? Without recognizing 808, thank you, Spirit, without recognizing the divine alignment as within, so without, as below, so above. There is no petition that you don't have to receive the support internally. Sister Myra taught us that you only got to do your 180 for that 180 to be met. But a lot of the times we be trying to come in with extra credit and we want to do 195. And I'm not saying that spirit can't do with that 15 that they can do with the 180. But I'm saying when you recognize that you've been given an opportunity, you get to stop fighting and you get to stop wanting to be inspired so much that you take on the identity of something else. Because that's what this world has been. It's been a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake. I don't think people understood that the new mineral of what would be present at this time was going to be brought into creation because there was going to be some true creators that were going to wake up, that were going to sustain themselves in making something that hadn't been, not because it wasn't before, but because it was a need for it to be at this rate right here, right now. Be in your lane, be in the submission of recognizing that your traumas is actually going to be at the rate that you've been training your triggers to not align beyond, because you keep on convincing yourself that you have to be at this rate of movement and not flow. Spirit gets to be with you, in you, and at all rates, we get to be benefited at our highest vibrational frequency. Don't doubt it, but don't fight what somebody else is bringing to you, especially when you decide to keep on consuming it with your judgment. Be at a rate where you get to be free, even how you listen.